Namaste, everyone. Welcome to Sweet Serenity Healing Messages. These messages are meant to give you hope, clarity, courage, understanding, and the motivation to move forward on your healing journey. They provide practical ideas to make small but impactful changes to your mindset, habits, and overall lifestyle with the intention of raising your vibrations and becoming better aligned with your purpose. Whenever this message finds you, that's when you were meant to receive it. Thanks for all your likes and subscriptions. I deeply appreciate all of your support. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be informed every time I upload content. You can follow me on Facebook at Sweet Serenity Chakra Healing. And if you would like to donate to the channel, the link to my Cash App can be found in the description below. With that said, let's get started with our mindful messages. All right, so the first message for today. You will be too much for some people. Those are not your people. Once again, you will be too much for some people. Those are not your people. So when people ask you, or don't even ask you, may project actions to make you feel self-conscious about the things that you do, make you self-conscious about the quirks that you have, make you self-conscious about what's unique. If they choose to tease you about those things, if they always want to bring them to the forefront, if they always want to bring attention to it, to kind of make you feel uncomfortable or maybe to embarrass you, those are not your people. They can see you shining in a way that you cannot maybe see yourself shining in that moment, and they want you to become self-conscious about those quirks that you have. But those quirks that you have are what make you unique. Those quirks that you have are more than likely part of your calling, right? What allows you to stand out from the rest? What allows you to shine as a unique individual? The light that you emanate to other people. And obviously it is something that they see that impacts them, which is why they keep calling attention to it. But it may be their own personal uncomfortability with their own light and their willingness to stand within it that they try to intimidate your light and try to encourage you to shy away from shining it in your own right. And everyone has the right to shine their own light. So if people feel uncomfortable with it or they feel the need to say something about it, you can either ignore them, you could tell them it's none of their business, it's tell them this is who I am, this is what I do, and I'm gonna keep doing it. Or if you have to, you remove yourself from those people. But the last thing that you want to do is stop shining. So remember that above all else, and keep in mind that those individuals have an issue with shining their own light. It has nothing to do with you. Next message. No one else is supposed to understand your calling. It wasn't a conference call. Many times when we get some divine message that we may not understand to be a divine message, but we feel compelled to move towards something that's different than everybody else, that draws us, that's unique, that's a little out of the box, it's maybe a lot out of the box. And we try to convince other people like, hey, this is a good idea. You want to support me in this? Do you want to do this together? And they're like, no, that don't make no sense. No, we're not trying to do that. No, I don't know what you're talking about. You sound stupid. You sound crazy. And sometimes we allow that to slow us down. Sometimes we allow that to deter us from taking that path. Sometimes we start to doubt ourselves as to whether or not we did receive that message, knowing full and well we did, right? We got that message, and the message was not a conference call. They did not get that message because it wasn't their message. It was for you. It was for you, and there are other people out there in the world who may have also received that message, but those around you may not have. So the last thing that you want to do is spend your time convincing those people that this is what should be done, or most importantly, what you definitely shouldn't do is allow those people to tell you that what you're thinking, what you're feeling isn't valid and it isn't worth looking into. At the very least, make some kind of attempt to go towards what it is that you feel compelled to go towards, because that message or that was put on your heart for a specific reason. It was done with intention. The universe did it with intention because that's what they wanted you to hear, because they knew above all you had the capacity to bring it to fruition. And that is why they gave you that calling and not necessarily everyone else around you. Next message. Self-care is choosing not to argue with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Definitely ties into your this was not a conference call message. We can spend time, explaining things to the ones that we love, the ones that we have in our lives, our friends, our family, and out of love, many times we try to help people understand who we are. And at the point at which every angle that you have attempted and every means of explaining who you are has not come across, you have to conclude that they're not interested. They are determined to not understand you. They are determined to not be in alignment with what you're doing, or they simply don't understand. But they have a commitment to that misunderstanding, because you shouldn't have to plead for people to misunderstand you. And at some point, you may have to realize their lack of understanding has nothing to do with you. You still got to do what you got to do, regardless of whether they understand or not. And being comfortable within yourself and saying, hey, I understand. And so based on my personal understanding, I'm going to move forward. And that's what's most important. And when they figure it out, they can either get on board or not get on board. And maybe I will accept that at that point, that support, that recognition even at that time. Or maybe I'll just be like, well, you didn't understand then, and I don't understand now. It's all up to you how you want to approach it. But what you don't want to do is get stuck in that cycle of trying to explain, trying to plead, because now you've taken your focus off of what it is that you're supposed to be achieving, and you've now switched your focus to convincing people that this is what you're supposed to be achieving, which is counterproductive, right? So in an effort to, at the very least, remain productive, you want to keep going regardless of who does and doesn't understand. Yes, it does hurt when the ones that we love don't support us and don't fully get what it is that we're doing. And yes, because we want them to share in this experience, we will take the time to break this down for them. But if it's not working and it's slowing down your progress, you got to say, you know what, I love you, but I'm going to love you while I'm over here getting this done. And I will give you the time and space to figure it out for yourself, to see if the universe speaks to you directly, because I've done my part in how I can convince you. And that's all that is. All right, we're going to move on to a Beyond Lemuria Oracle card message. Full spectrum. Step out of the black and white mentality of good and bad. Honor the full spectrum of life and see through fresh eyes. When we judge something, we create a story around it, and often these stories are limiting. Over a lifetime, we subconsciously gather so many of these stories. Create a space for no story, for miraculous healing and crystallizing new paths. This space empowers us to know our truth and to be all we are. Embrace creation in all her colors, including the raw, muddy, earthbound shadow parts of a situation, to determine whether your stories are limiting your perspective. Let the compost of the challenges you have overcome feed new shoots and blossoms. All right, so good and bad, black and white, it doesn't serve anything. All it does is give us a foundation to judge from, right? Things are what they are. And at the end of the day, regardless of whether we deem them to be good or bad, we are having to decide whether we're going to accept them or not accept them, if they're for us or not for us, if they make us happy or sad, right? And even in how they impact us personally, it doesn't mean that innately that is what they are, right? Just because something makes me sad doesn't make it a bad thing. Just because something makes someone else happy doesn't make it a good thing. It is just what you experience of it on an individual level. Many times when we say things are good or bad, we're going off of what someone else has judged it to be. And if we go off of what someone else has judged it to be, it limits our own experiences. We may not step into that space simply because we've been told that it is a bad thing, a bad idea. It is not part of the convention. It is not part of the culture. It is not what we do. When in actuality, a blessing may be on the other side of that, right? So the idea is to keep yourself open to experiences until you feel it for yourself, because how you feel it may not be how the masses feel it, and how you feel it specifically is in itself an example of whether it's for you or not. Even personally, I have had to conclude that I can no longer tell people, whether a location that I've lived in is a good or a bad place. I may not like it, but the actuality is, if it's working in your favor, that is where universe wants you to be. It may not have worked in my favor because that's not where universe had my blessings. And so I had to move on. I did my best to align with that space, to get to know it, to immerse myself, to embrace it, but it just didn't work out. And from there, I have to just let go and not say, you know what, it's a bad space, because at that point, I'm fighting against it versus just leaving, right? Like, this isn't for me. This doesn't feel good. I gotta go. What else is out there, right? And even in that same respect of good and bad, that's why you may find the people around you not supporting what it is that you came up with, the ideas that you have, the innovations you want to make, the moves you want to make, because they have been stuck in this bubble of being limited. So to avoid that, what you want to make sure that you do is just remain open until you have experienced it yourself. Unless it's poison or something deadly, of course you don't want to do that. But outside of that, as long as it isn't obviously harming anyone, be open to it. Be open to the idea, be open to the possibilities, be open to the potential of whatever could become, because once it's been put on your heart, there's obviously something there for you. So be willing to explore it. All right, we're going to go on to our Gateway Oracle card. Renewing your life. Radiant vitality is filling my life. Let's look that up. A powerful inner and outer renewal is occurring in your life. Purification is happening on many levels. Take your life to the next level by clutter clearing. Release situations and people that don't empower you. Space clear your environment and eat lightly. In order for your renewal to occur, the old needs to make way for the new. Sometimes it's difficult for exciting experiences to come into your life if your auric field or your personal space is cluttered. There's simply no room for something new. When you purify your life, you create the space for new opportunities to come flooding in. If you have a sense that your auric field, your living space, or your body have become cluttered or dingy, it is the time to do some inner and outer clearing. All right, so once again, sometimes those who are trying to be a block in your way or misunderstand, sometimes they need to be cleared out of your life to make space for the people that are willing to support you. When it comes to your physical space, all things hold energy. So if you have a lot of clutter in your space, they are holding stagnant energy, and therefore they will help you remain stagnant. Once you clear that space, once you take those things out, you make room for new energy to come in, for vitality to come in, for growth to come in. So ever so frequently, whether it's seasonally, biannually, however it is necessary for your lifestyle, make sure to just clear out some things. Do I need this anymore? Why am I holding on to this? Yes, this might hold a memory. Is there a place for it? Can I take a piece of it, put it in a picture frame and hang it on the wall instead of stacking things or building clutter in my space, right? You can't think clearly when you're in a cluttered space. And so you cannot create from a cluttered mind, right? So that's just something to be mindful of. Now we're moving on to our Moonology Oracle card. You are good enough. Full moon in Virgo. It's time to really be honest with yourself and understand what's led you to ask your question. Have you been humble to the point of being self-effacing? Humility is good, but it can go too far. And drawing this card suggests you may be underrating yourself. You don't have to be flashy, just quietly certain that you are good enough. At the other end of the scale, you also need to honestly answer the question, have you been too picky? The full moon in Virgo card needs some truthful answers. Once you've given them, it should be easier to see how you got where you are. Your next step should then be more obvious to you. Pay attention to the details. Hard work brings results. The affirmation: find a balance between the cosmic and the mundane in your life. Find a balance between the cosmic and the mundane in your life. The teaching: the full moon in Virgo is a time to declutter your life, your home, and your office. It's the time to sort what's good in your life from what's not serving you. It's also the time to clear out your energies via salt baths and meditation, and to practice getting more grounded by walking barefoot. No matter when you draw this card, it's a reminder that any time is a good time to start living a healthier life. All right, so overall, it looks like we're clearing out energy today and we're becoming open to the possibilities by not looking at things in a black and white frame and not judging them, releasing people who are not in alignment with where we're going and what we're trying to do, not worrying about how they feel about the situation. Most importantly, making sure we're moving forward based upon how we feel inside and what we're feeling compelled to do. If you have been able to be inspired by this message, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate all of your support. Have a blessed day.